So when I got here, I was quickly informed that it takes 20 years to become a West Australian. So, I finally made it. So Andy Todd's come in and he's picked up a Gatorade bottle to have a drink, seen Victor sitting there and just threw it against him. I had blue Gatorade going all over the walls. Kenny's saying, we've got this new player coming, go deck him out. The little lad's walking across the field and I thought, who's this? He don't look like a footballer to me. Come over and he introduced himself as Diego Castro. And I thought, he's not going to make it.
Whilst we're on William Gallas, tell us a little bit about the big Frenchman.
He come over to train because, of course, no jewellery while you're training. Come over to training and he left his earrings in. And these earrings were like big diamond rocks, both of them. He takes the two earrings off and puts them in my palm of my hand. And Josh Risdon at the time was there. And I said to Joshy, I said, you could take these and buy 2 houses in Bunbury.
Hi guys, Gareth Morgan with you once again, welcoming you to another episode of Glory Stories, the club's official podcast brought to you in association with our proud club partners and great friends Drimtel, Perth Glory and Drimtel. A winning combination. Now, regular viewers and listeners will be familiar with the fact that over the last few weeks we've basically been trying to match our guests up with a particular kind of cake or biscuit just to make them feel a little bit more at home, a little bit more comfortable in the studio. Well, we're continuing that concept today. Had a long think about this one and I upped the budget a full $6.50 up at IGA in Ocean Reef. And basically, I've gone for something, it's a classic cake, it's much loved, got a good bit of longevity about it, it's been around for many years, and also it's just got a little bit of cheeky flamboyance. It is the one and only Cherry Bakewell, courtesy of Mr. Kipling. I should stress Mr. Kipling, not an official sponsor of Glory Days, more like a personal life sponsor for myself. So could we describe today's guest as the Cherry Bakewell of Perth Glory? Might be drawing a little bit of a long bow to do that, but we can certainly describe him as the best known equipment and logistics manager in the A-League and also the most loved. There's no doubt about that. And I will introduce him right now because Mr. Brett Lambert is here. Lambo, fantastic to see you, mate. Have you ever been compared to a Cherry Bakewell before?
No, I must admit that is the first time. But thanks for the introduction, Gareth. That's well done.
No worries at all. I'm just glad I got through it, and we will possibly share these a little bit later on. You said they're very English. That was your only comment.
Yes, when I first seen them, I thought that is very English.
Well, we like to try and introduce that sort of thing to the show. Mate, for anyone who doesn't know or isn't familiar with your story, let's just get right back to the start in terms of your first involvement with Perth Glory. You're a Sydney-sider for a start, so we probably need to find out how you ended up in Perth and then how you ended up joining Glory, why, when and how.
Well, yes, that's right, Gareth, from Sydney. So, and we've had many conversations about the eastern suburbs and in particular Maroubra Beach. So, yes, over from Sydney, and I come over in 2002. So when I got here, I was quickly informed that it takes 20 years to become a West Australian. So, I finally made it. So, I'm very comfortable, very happy. The family's very happy living in Perth, and it's a great spot.
And what about the club, mate? What was your first involvement there? How did that come to pass?
I come over to Perth. I knew nobody here, but the manager of the company I come over to work for, which is in freight and logistics. So I worked in that in Sydney for many years, made my way through the business, and finally end up in getting a transfer over to Perth to get involved in a greenfield site out at the airport, which is still there to this day. So to meet people, of course, you just join a football club. So I went down, first of all, I was living in Leeming, so I actually went down to Leeming Strikers and didn't really fit in there the way, I was playing in the 80s, so to speak. So sort of hurting a lot of people at training, so that didn't work out too well. So they chased me. I ended up down at Perth Saints. Now, I just happened to walk into a team that had Robbie Dunn was playing, Robbie Zabika was playing, Kenny Lowe was playing, Peter Murphy. So all of these ex-Socceroos / state players, and, we had the best team going for sure. And one day down there at training, well, I can say after training, because Kenny loves a beer, so I was always with him having a beer. And at the time, Kenny and Robbie Dunn were involved with Glory, and they said, why don't you come down? Because at the time, Dave Mitchell was the assistant coach, and I knew Mitch from my days at Sydney City as well, and around the traps in Maroubra. So I knew Dave, went down, had a chat, and my old mate, God bless him, Winnie Russell, was looking to get out, and I just landed at the right time. Now, for those who know Winnie, he just didn't want to get out, so I was there for 2 years before he left. And then I actually called him and got him to come back, and because we weren't getting any nutrition or anything like that at the time, and Gwelup Fruit Markets were providing some fruit for us, so I got Winnie back, and Winnie used to cut up the fruit for the players, and they'd have it pre-training and post-training, so that was good. And I built a great friendship with Winnie over the years, many years.
So he made you serve quite the apprenticeship, Winnie.
That's right. So it was, and it was sad the day that he had to hand the keys over for the equipment van, and it was like we were doing some Greek-Roman wrestling just for me to get the keys off him. God love him, yeah. But so that's how I ended up there, and who would have thought, come 2004, I've had my 11th coach. On the way here, I was starting to count up CEOs, and I got up to 7. I thought, well, so I'm starting to think maybe it's me.
Well, you've segued neatly onto coaches, because you mentioned Dave Mitchell there was someone that you knew before, and when you go through the list of coaches that you've worked under, some contrasting characters, I think it's fair to say, the likes of Ian Ferguson, Ali Edwards, of course, plenty more, Tony Popovich more recently as well. What have been some of the challenges with working for those managers? Now, how long does it take them to understand that basically you run the show and they need to fit in around yourself?
Yeah, it takes them a while. It takes them probably about a month into it. Then they realise that there's only one person that's running the club here. So, yeah, but I think about all the coaches I've had, and they've all had their own personalities and their own abilities. So just like when, people go to work every day and you decide to move on, you see all different manager traits, and you sort of pick up their best traits. So I did feel that, Mitch, I love Mitch because he gave me the job. So Mitch was great for me. Mitch was, he was very paranoid about what was going on behind the scenes more than what was happening on the pitch. That was Mitch. Fergie was definitely probably one of the best man managers. He was very good at that. I thought Alistair Edwards' tactical nous was very high. I thought his was very good. He planned things, and we attempted and at times achieved those tactical plans. That was very good. But you can imagine how many sessions I've sat in pre-games and post-games since I've been involved with Glory. I've had some colourful moments in those change rooms, going and losing and then going and winning. And I remember one day there we come off the field, this was at HBF, and Victor Sikora and Andy Todd had a little go at each other walking off the field. So coming up the race before the new one was there, they were still going, and I was waiting in the change room, and I thought, oh God, these guys are... Victor just decides that he will go and sit in Andy Todd's spot. I thought, oh no. So Andy Todd's come in, and he's picked up a Gatorade bottle to have a drink, seen Victor sitting there, and just threw it against him. I had blue Gatorade going all over the walls. And as the kit men would know out there, I hate getting the uniforms dirty. These are all now sticky uniforms. But yeah, so that was a tasty one.
How was it resolved? Because I know who my money's on, let's put it that way, in a conflict between Victor Sikora and Andy Todd. I know
definitely.
Who I'm back in
Victor
there.
moved seats straight away. It was down to business then. Yeah. But Andy, one thing he didn't like was that hot weather in Perth. We were making ice baths for him pre-game, half-time and post-game, but the boy was just always in the ice baths.
Yeah, he didn't have the skin tone.
No, he didn't.
He
Sun cream. He was my second best customer. Brandon O'Neill's my best customer. Sun cream, closely followed by Jack Clisby. And then we had Cernas. Remember Cernas, the
Oh,
Lithuanian?
I do, yeah.
I used to just dip him in the tub of sun cream.
He didn't have much hair either to protect him, did he?
No, he was white.
So, obviously an explosive moment there between Victor and Andy Todd. Have there been times when, I know you probably can't go into too much detail, have there been times
I
when...
can go into detail.
Okay, let's do it. Have there been times when things have got properly out of control in the changing room?
Yeah, there's been times. There's always a scuffle, and of course it's high emotion, and the testosterone is flowing at half time when players come in. So normally the coach, the manager, gives them a bit of time on their own, settle down. Somebody normally takes control of the situation, and normally that's the captain. Sometimes with Burnsy, the captain was the issue, but anyway, he did calm down a lot of the situations that were going on, but once the manager came in, everyone's quiet, everyone's listening, and there's a plan to go for the second half.
What's the biggest spray that you've seen from a coach, half-time or full-time?
Probably definitely Poppers. Poppers were very good. He hit one of the boards there one time at HBF, and the electronic board blanked out, but that was a half-time. Just easily his way of getting his message across.
Well, just on Popper, Brett, obviously we won the championship with him in charge, and we can talk about the amount of investment there was, etc. How you can take that out of the equation. Just in terms of the way he ran things, why were we able to succeed that season in that regard? What was it that he did, from your vantage point, well?
From where I sat, we had a good 23 players, and we used those 23 players. It was very rare that he brought in somebody else. So the other thing is, which was to our, you can call it luck, but I don't call it luck anymore because I've seen it now. Those players were always fit and ready to go. Meaning, when I say fit, I mean barring injury. Like, they didn't have ankle sprains, they didn't have knee knock. I'm sure they did, but he managed to rotate the squad quite well. We sort of, if you think about when he used to use the Rolls Royce, Speranovic, I mean. Yeah, he used to leave the Rolls Royce in the garage some games, he'd never bring it out. And then when we'd have a game against, Sydney away or Melbourne Victory or one of the big clubs at the time, then the Rolls Royce would play, and then he'd sit out again. So he knew what players needed to, when they needed to be rested. His rotations on the bench were spot on. They were always well planned. And if something did pop up, he tended to have plan B and plan C ready to go. And, I don't think he really got flustered with that. It was just, and they, obviously, he's very good at what he does. Otherwise, right now, he wouldn't be the Socceroos coach.
Will he be a success as Socceroos coach, do you think?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. It doesn't faze him. Like, I think the other day, they played Indonesia, and look who their coach was. He wouldn't have batted an eyelid at that, because he instills in the players that you're better than these other guys we're playing against, and, here's why. Mate, keeps it very simple.
And what was your relationship like with him on a day-to-day basis? Did he make your job easy? Did he make it difficult? How was it?
When he first came, I thought it was going to be a hard job, but the planning that he made me achieve, or me do, helped me endlessly. And then he says, you probably need a helper because we want to get more. So, voila, in comes Russell Watts.
I tell you what, you're just making the whole show flow. I don't even need to crowbar anything in, because Rusty Watts is definitely one of the questions I wanted to ask you about him. How would you characterise your relationship with Rusty, and how's it developed over the years?
How Rusty is now is not how he was when he came in with Popper, that's for sure. He wasn't like that. I blame myself, really. I blame myself for making him like that. But yeah, he's a great guy. We get on so well. Sometimes it's father and son. Sometimes he thinks he's my big brother. But yeah, we get on well. He does his job. He's good at what he does, by the way. He's very good. The players love him, and the other day Driller got him up in front of the group pre-match, and Rusty gave him his speech on what he expects from the players, which they all appreciate. And, you know, I can't really say any of the players there have got any qualms about Rusty or I, or if they do, they better tell me. And I'll set him straight. But
no, I have seen a couple of his speeches to the players, usually quite simple and to the point. One of them was very simple to the point. It was 3 words, and it was just win.
Yeah,
yeah.
He's like that. Well, for his birthday, the boys went and bought him a bottle of Blue Label whiskey. Right. So it took him like 4 years to drink this whiskey. So every time we'd have a night out for dinner, or the MGP would have a hotel room, he would bring that whiskey, and he was bringing it in a little flask in the end because he didn't want people to know that he was actually having it. But yeah,
it's a great fella, and we know he'll be watching.
Oh, he'll be watching,
100%. Right.
And I've sort of ticked the box there because he said, if you don't say anything about me, I'm not getting you coffee. I said, well, you don't get me coffee anyway. So
he'd have sulked for weeks. He would. Mate, moving on to training venues, we've had a few over the years, quite a few. I know Tompkins Park was one of your favourites. Not too far for you to travel, for one thing, but what was it about Tompkins Park that you liked?
Well, at the time, when I started, that's where we were training, and I was playing for Perth Saints at the time, and that was at Tompkins Park. So we had the change room set up there, we had the physio room set up there, we established ourselves there. So Tompkins Park was very manicured at the time. So whatever we were doing, a bit higher up the chain, getting the council to maintain the fields, it was good. Plus, it was a huge open space, huge open space. So we stayed there for quite a while, and then Mitch ended up moving on. Fergie was there for a bit, and then one day Kenny says that we've got a new player coming down. Now, sorry about that, but we'd actually moved to UWA by then. Something happened at UWA, Country Week or something, they kicked us off the field.
That's right.
We had to move, so we moved back to Tompkins Park. So at Tompkins Park, and this little guy come walking across the field, and Kenny's saying, we've got this new player coming, go deck him out. So the little lad's walking across the field, and I thought, oh, who's this? He don't look like a footballer to me. And he come over with his agent, and his agent was very flamboyant, and come over and he introduced himself as Diego Castro. And I thought, oh, he's not going to make it. Little did I know when he come out there and we started playing rondo, no one else could get the ball. He would only go into rondo if he wanted to. If he didn't want to, then he didn't go in. But some things he used to do in that rondo circle with the players, they were frightened to go near him. Not as frightened as Lee Broxham was to go near him, but very frightened. Because he just put it between your legs and go get it again.
And how was Diego to work with? Did he make your life difficult? Was it demanding?
No. One thing about Diego was when he started his first game, he wore this pair of jocks. He got this pair of jocks and he says, Lambo, you must have these, must have. So in the wash they'd go, and every game I'd put them back. Now, there's only one game, I'm including pre-season here, and any game we played, he didn't wear them. That's because I forgot him. And he wasn't happy. But he wore the same pair. So obviously when he's moved on, I said, can I have him? So
you've got Diego's lucky jocks.
And they're my top ones, and then the second ones was Robbie Fowler's.
Right, so
kept Robbie's.
So you've basically got a collection, of men's underpants, which is... Well, that's a bit of a bombshell, but I wasn't expecting that revelation. We'll come on to some more. Actually, we might as well talk about Robbie Fowler now, as you've popped his name in there. What was Robbie like to work with?
Yeah, Robbie's good. He's like a probably typical English footballer. The banter, the jokes, the everything that went with being a footballer. That was Robbie. So besides that he can score goals, you just give him the ball in the box, he scores goals. So that was Robbie, and He played jokes all the time. We had a young kid there from work experience that come in and did a couple of weeks with me, and Robbie took a liking to this young boy, and he made him do push-ups. If he could do 10 push-ups, he'd give him $10. If he could do 20 push-ups, he'd give him $20. And we had our little plastic drinking cups, and he used to put it on the boy's chest. And when the boy did the press-up, the plastic cup had to move, and then he put the $20 in it, and the kids' arms would be shaking, and he was good. He was good with the kids, and he used to always do which you probably tell every football, do extras after training. Keep doing your extras, do your 10,000 hours. Even Robbie at that age was still doing them. So got a bit long in the tooth for me, and I started to get a bit agitated, and trying to call them off the training pitch. So I'd loaded the van, and I'm sort of heading across McGillivray, and he yells out at me, and as he did, he'd thump the ball. Well, I had the driver's window closed, and the ball shattered the window. So I had all glass bleeding in the side of my face. Robbie was devastated. So I had to go back to Hutcho. Hutcho's got me on the table picking glass out, and Robbie asked me how much it was to fix the window. So I told him roughly what it would be, and then, of course, there was compensation involved as well. So
he's nearly killed a kit man. He's nearly killed a kit man.
When I see him, he still laughs about it.
What about pre-season trips, mate? I've been fortunate enough to join you on a few. I know you've been to South Africa off the top of my head, Philippines, China, Malaysia. Bit of globe-trotting's gone on. What are some of the best memories you've had from those pre-season international jaunts?
South Africa was three times South Africa, and I'm pretty sure with three different coaches. I think Fergie went first, and then Alistair, and then Kenny. I think it went in that order. And there were some great trips over there. South Africa, would have thought you'd go over to South. We're going to safari parks and all over there, so that was good. But I'd have to say the best trip was the Philippines, because that was with Kenny, and we flew from Perth to Singapore, and we got on the flight to go from Singapore into Manila, and we could see on the screens there that the plane was getting ready to land, and it does a circle, then it does another circle. I thought, well, wasn't the plane landing? Then it did another circle, and then the captain comes on and says, by the time this is dark now, it's night time, and the captain comes on and says, look, unfortunately, the runway in Manila's produced a crack, and the plane can't land there. We're looking for somewhere else to go, and of course we're looking at the screens, and we thought we can land in Cebu, which is close, and then the plane decided that they'd fly back to Singapore. So now we've got another 3 hours to get back to Singapore, and of course there's no food left, because you've eaten all the food, virtually drank all the water. So we end up arriving back into Singapore about 1 a.m, and the airline put us all in taxis, sent us to a hotel, and we had to play the next day in the Philippines. So Kenny said to the boys, look, go and relax, go and do what you want to do, and make sure you're here in the morning. We've got I think it was a 9:30 a.m. flight or something like that, back to Manila. We got the game deferred to the next day, and we headed off back to Manila again. Then played, won 3-0. I think Perth was hot. Whew, that place is hot.
And there were similar transport problems in China, weren't there? A bus incident. I thought I couldn't get across.
Yeah.
This was with Fergie, wasn't it? I believe.
Yeah, this was Mitch.
Was it Mitch?
So
Sorry.
Mitch, Fergie, and Kenny were there. So they were all in the coaching group at the time, and Lee Bamber was the goalkeeper coach, and Shaz come with us as well. Shaz is our masseur. So we went to China, went to play Tianjin Teda, and we were staying so it was northeast. It was right up near the Korean border. We'd stayed in Beijing, and we went up there. So the bus got there okay, and then when we were leaving there on the way back to play Tianjin Teda, the bus driver got lost, the Chinese guy, and we had an interpreter, but he was just as bad as the bus driver. So we did a couple of loops, and we found this huge, it looked like the Simpsons opening where they got big smoke things and smoke's billowing out of these. So we noticed them and thought, oh, look how bad that is. And we drove for about an hour and a half, and then they appeared again. I thought, where are we? Where are we going? And because none of our phones were working, so we didn't know where we were. And so we finally, this was about 5 hours later, when the trip there was just on an hour, we finally arrived at Tianjin Teda Stadium, but it was on the other side of the river. So when the bus went to go across the river, the bus was too big and wouldn't fit under the bridge. So we had to wait there, and then they had something like 5,000 people at the ground ready to see Robbie, because Robbie Fowler was with us. So then we headed back again to try to find another way over. So it was an absolute shambles. So in the end, Mitch stopped the bus driver. We all got off the bus, and he said, "Just take us back to Beijing. We can't play the game now." So the guy wouldn't leave. So Robbie was there with Andy Todd, and they were going to get a taxi, which was miles. It was like 2 hours away from Beijing. We are now. Anyway, we ended up driving back to Beijing. So that whole trip was about 9 hours.
And didn't even play.
And we didn't even play, no.
Sensational.
Yeah.
Sensational. Mate, just your relationship with the Glory members and fans, in particular, the Glory Shed Supporters Club. Can you tell us a little bit about how that's developed over the years?
Yeah.
Because you've got some good friends there.
So for me, I feel that is an integral part of the club, and I feel like we probably, over the years, we probably haven't done enough for them. I don't think we've done enough. If they ever approached me and wanted something for a raffle or wanted something, I would go out of my way to make sure I did. Even my wife and daughter have been on a few trips with the Glory Shed. I think the fans are integral, and even the young kids that have got up the front now. Young Will come in to do some work experience with me. So and he's a supporter, and those kids outlay their own money to build their own banners. I think there's more that the club can do for the fans, and appreciate what they do, because I know the cost involved for this. Well, they're going away soon to Tarneet. Is it Tarneet?
Yeah,
Ironbark Fields.
Right. That's the tour.
They're going
year,
there,
yeah.
and look, there's going to be 100-something go. So these people plan their whole working lives, holidays around getting to these things. So as I said, I just feel like I do as much as I can for them. I always on away games encourage the players to go over. That even if you lose, you still go over. That's just football. And they understand. They like it. But then again, bloody hell, if you talk about bad losers, that's me. I don't like it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, actually. I mean, some of those, when we've had a bad defeat on the road, and let's be honest, there's been a few of those over the years. How miserable are you on the way back?
Yeah, I'm miserable. Yeah. I hate it. And I feel like I should play. Maybe if I did something. Maybe I didn't do the right thing. But, it's horrible when you're away, because you're sort of copping it from their fans as well. We're copping it from the fans. At Amy Park there, I love going to Amy Park. It's a great atmosphere, especially when Melbourne Victory are flying. They give it to you when you're walking off the field, and they've just beat you, and they still give it to you. I remember there was a game there. Mitch Nichols he'd been sent off at Amy Park. I can't remember if we won or lost now, but so as he's going off, they've started on Mitch Nichols, and I thought I better go over and sort of walk him off and walk him down the tunnel. So they're screaming abuse at him, And then they started screaming abuse at me. So Mitch didn't like that, so he took his boot off and threw it at somebody. I'm trying to covering my head, trying to run it. Come on, Mitch, get out of here, get out of here.
Just about got out of there alive by the sound of it. But you mentioned your wife and your daughter. I know that, interestingly, without sort of lapsing into gender stereotypes, your mum actually played quite an influential role in sort of developing your love for football, didn't she? Because I know people generally talk about brothers or dads or whatever it is, but your mum is steeped in the game.
Yeah, that's right. We grew up in an area of Sydney called Hillsdale, which was, at the time, there was a football club in Sydney called Yugle Prague, or Prague Soccer Club, which were, high flyers. They were in the NSL. They were winning everything. They were all the Czechoslovakians. Well, Mum ended up getting a job at the club there, serving tables and serving drinks and all, and she'd come down from Grafton and played hockey. So they'd convinced her that hockey was very similar to football, but you just use your feet instead of a stick. So Mum joined Yugle Soccer Club, and they were trying to set up a women's team at the time, so she played. And then she moved over. From that, they weren't really kicking on much that year, so she moved over to St George, who were the Hungarians of Budapest. So she moved over to them, and lo and behold, fell into probably the best club side in Australia at the time. They were winning all sorts of stuff. So I joined and became their ball boy, and the captain and coach at the time, Pat O'Connor and Joe O'Connor, their boy was also like the ball boy with me. So we used to go to games and just get the balls for them. And the women actually, they had white with red stripes. Well, the women actually made me and I can't remember his name. I'll think of it in a minute. Made us the kit, sewed stripes on it for us. So we're involved in that. And then ultimately, I went down and played for Prague, and that club was turned into Pagewood in '96. So, and then I played youth league at Prague and Yugle, and here's one for you. Dr. Jose Vanglos was the coach. Oh, yeah? He was the coach of the first team.
Managed Aston Villa at one time, Mr. Dr. Vanglos. Yeah,
Dr. Vanglos, and he was involved in Prague's. Well, he was the coach, so he was involved in Prague Soccer Club, and So when it got to 74, 75, Mum was invited to go to the Matildas, Australian touring team, to Hong Kong, and I still blame Matthew to this day. So she fell pregnant with Matthew, and she didn't end up going, but she was ready to go, and that's my brother Matthew. Yeah,
robbed his mum of a Matildas cap. Shameful. Mate, I just want to move on to the Dream Car Rental Dream Team. Now, I did tip you off about this.
Yeah.
I'm presuming you read I'm glad you read the email. Now, basically, we can make this up as we go along. It can be players that you've worked with, or it can basically be anyone. If you just want to put together a high-quality six-a-side team, you'll obviously be kit man and coach for this one.
Definitely
and
coach.
Possibly substitute as well if you fancy a little, 5-minute cameo towards the end. I reckon you can give yourself a run. Who would your six players be? Let's start, as we always do, in goal.
You have to have a goalkeeper nowadays.
Yes.
So I can't really go past Vuka, although definitely Rocket comes a very close second. How about this for a team? So William Gallas plays at the back.
Right, we haven't even had any William Gallas stories yet, have we?
You haven't had a William Gallas one. I've got William Gallas stories.
Come on then, before we go any further, let's whilst we're on William Gallas, tell us a little bit about the big Frenchman.
Oh, he was great. He was great. He come over to train because, of course, no jewellery while you're training. Come over to training, and he left his earrings in, and these earrings were like big diamond rocks, both of them. So Lambo, he puts takes the two earrings off and puts them in my palm of my hand. And Josh Risdon at the time was there. And I said to Joshy, I said, you could take these and buy 2 houses in Bunbury. Yeah, that was Will. Will was living out when he first came here, they put him out at Burswood, in the apartment at Burswood there, and he had his own physio physio, strength and conditioning guy who used to attend to Will, and the boys would talk about going to Cottesloe Beach. So they took Will to Cottesloe Beach, and Will says, I don't want to live there anymore, I want to live at Cottesloe Beach. So he moved there pretty quickly, and then all the stories started. But he got me one time in Sydney, Will. His father had flown in from the Indies. He was West Indies, he'd lived over there. His father had flown in, and Will had decided to take the team out for dinner in Sydney down at Darling Harbour, and he says to me that, oh, Lambo, my father is here, so we're all going for dinner, so I'll put my father next to you because, you're his age. I thought, oh, that's how old's his dad? So this guy turned up, and he couldn't speak any English. I said to Will, how old's your dad? He says, 63. I go, Will, I'm only early 50s, Will. You're killing me.
Not a word.
Yeah,
of
not a
English,
word. Well,
no.
we'll just, you sit with him. Okay.
Brilliant. Just a hello and there off you
But that
go.
would be my Will would play,
Right, so we've got Vuka, we've got William Gallas.
Yeah,
You'll have to
of
try and keep
course.
him on the straight and
That's
narrow.
right. That Will's fine. Imagine having Will when he was playing Chelsea at Glory. Anyway, Will would play. I'd have to have the Rolls Royce because he just would fit nicely.
Matthew Sporanovic.
Plays.
Would you'd look after him as well, like Papa did, just keep him in cotton wool and
Yeah. His backup would be Panelides because he just kick people when they come on. So Panna would get on the bench for sure. Then listen to this: Liam Miller and Burnsy. Liam Miller's very silky.
They were very,
silky.
very popular midfield choice.
Yeah.
Those
two up top. Robbie.
Go for Robbie.
Yeah, go for
Yeah.
Robbie.
And
Go for Tags.
Oh, hang on.
Hang on, how many players have we got? 6.
We've got Vuka, William Gallas, Liam Miller, Jacob Burns, Robbie, Tags at the moment.
and then Daniel Sturridge.
Tell us about Daniel Sturridge. Tell us about the Sturridge experience. Let's just call it that. I think we've got time for a couple of minutes on.
Well, Greg
on
Mullins
Daniel.
was his own personal physio for the time he was here. But look, if we had a 5-a-side, 6-a-side game, Studge was just miles in front of anyone tucking balls into the net close. His issue was he had to run over 20 or 30 yards in a game. And the way the game is heading, if you can't run and keep up with the pace, you're probably not going to survive much longer. Those are the days of, the tiki-taka. I'm sure it still happens, but somebody's got to make forward runs. Somebody has to. So, Studge was good there. He just never... I think when he came to us, it's not as though he didn't want to play. He wanted to play, but he was so conscious of I think his muscle fibres were so tight and thin at the time from years and years of it that we never seen the best of him. But that first game at Adelaide when Richie brought him on, all we wanted were praying that he would score at the shed end, do his dance, and would sell 5,000 shirts.
Yeah, I think some of those T-shirts are still knocking around at Glory HQ, to be perfectly honest. But
rap singers in the US are wearing them now.
That's right. Mate, just in terms of, let's have some substitutes, and these don't necessarily have to be there for footballing reasons. Let's just have 3 or 4 of your favourite lads that you just want around the group to keep you entertained and keep the other players entertained.
Nebo Marinkovic.
Okay, tell us a bit about Nebo.
Big star. He used to say to me, big star. He I always used to do his accent all the time. Lambo, he go here, I go here. I put ball here, he go here. Why he do this? When he's taking free kicks. Now, you can say whoever you like in the A-League best of free kicks, that guy is. That guy could put it wherever you wanted it put. Corners, set pieces, you want to score, you want to... And that day at Bentley Green in the semi-final of the FA Cup, that's when he started about the goalkeeper. Why he stand here? Because I just put here. Why he stand here? I put here. Yeah, so he did it twice. So it wasn't...
He did,
yeah. And then Kenny realised that at Amy Park, where I think it was 2-2 or 3-3 with Melbourne City, and we had a free kick, and Kenny called a substitute, put Nebo on,
Yep.
Hadn't even warmed up. That was the thing about Nebo. He'd never warmed up. He didn't want to.
Is that right?
His superstition was when he was in the change room, he didn't want to touch the ball because the boys juggle the ball. They do little headers. They do little. If it come near him, he'd move out the way or put his feet up on the seat because he didn't want to touch the ball. But when he touched the ball, whew,
almost like a kicker in NFL, just rolling off the sidelines for the set pieces.
I'd have him. He's a good one.
All right, let's go for maybe one more. I reckon we've got time for one more. Who's joining Nebo?
Who was Michael Thwaite? Michael Thwaite, yeah. He was always fun to be around. Nothing bothered him. Happy-go-lucky. He could play. That's for sure.
Very proud Queenslander, though. That would have probably not gone down well with yourself, would it?
It did hurt me, yeah. We still have a bit of banter about state of origin to this day, and yeah.
I can imagine. Just one final one, mate, because time is catching up with us, as it always does. Could go on all day, as you know.
Oh, good.
The caravan.
Oh.
You're a proud caravan owner now. Tell us about the beast and your plans for the beast.
Yeah, so we've been talking about buying a caravan for a bit now because we'd had a trip up the coast. There was Alex Grant came, Castro, Joel Chinese, one day, and me and my family, and we headed up. We all hired camper vans, headed up the coast. So that was a great time. But since then, I haven't, for whatever reason, haven't had the opportunity. So we've been dabbling about looking at caravans, and the other day I thought I'm going to get this one, and I ended up buying a little caravan, just a little one that we can go down the coast, go look at some beaches, hover around WA, just to get out of Perth for a while and see what happens.
100%, and you can reverse it as well, can't you? You can back it up as well. I mean, that's the sign. That's the sign of it. That's a proper Australian man. That's one-handed.
That's a given.
One-handed, giving it one of those ones, just in the mirrors.
Yeah, that's right. Just because reversing's not that hard. It's hard for Rusty, but I ask him not to hit the walls. But
that's true. Yeah, there are some wall damage. There has been some wall damage at Glory HQ over the years, courtesy of Mr. Watts. But mate, thank you so much for coming in and sharing just a fraction, let's be honest, just a fraction of the stories that you've...
I've got so much. You're going to have to wait till I put my book out.
Well, this is it. This is it. It's going to be, I mean, I don't know how many volumes we're on to now, but...
the chapters would never finish.
I presume it's probably still with your legal team.
Yeah, it's called Kitman to the Stars, yeah.
And it's going to take years for the lawyers to run their eyes over it.
I have to ring a few and get some approvals.
That'd probably never see the light of day, but mate, it's always an absolute pleasure to chat. Thanks again for coming in, and thanks very much indeed to everyone who is continuing to download and watch the podcast on YouTube as well. We really do appreciate your support. If you'd like to leave comments, ratings and reviews, that would be absolutely fantastic. Thanks very much indeed as well for the feedback. Not one person, Brett, has actually posted #delete podcast yet. So
okay. It's a start.
Yeah, it's a start. I mean, I imagine it's probably coming in the next couple of weeks. Yeah, more now. Yeah, looking forward to that. I'd like to thank Jack and Jeff as well for all their technical help here in the studio, and of course to our podcast sponsors, Drimtel, your connection to possibilities. We'll be back next week with another episode of Glory Stories. In the meantime, go well and go glory.